Good day, everyone. This is Sifu Cicero, and this is the School of Chi Energy presenting a Q&A, questions and answers on the chakras. Well, good day, Sifu Jones.
How's it going?
We have our first question. They would like to know, how can a person activate their own chakras, and does your school teach this, and is it a safe thing to do?
Well, and that's one answer that can be answered in so many different ways depending on the energy method you choose. Certainly, we both went through energy methods that talked about chakras and how chakras work and everything, and it's really more in this metaphysical way that most people teach about chakras. Now, we do teach chakra training, or we also call it vortex training in the school, because a lot of times when you use the word chakra, people think in this metaphysical way, and we really mean people to understand or learn about chakras in the way that they can, or we show them that chakras or vortexes can be something that you can physically feel, and you actually can learn to activate them on your own body. And we take you through that whole process through the school.
Chakras are very interesting to me, and I found that I didn't really understand what a chakra was until I went through the School of Chi Energy and learned from your type of method that chakras can have a different effect on the body than what we metaphysically think about them. And so the next question kind of leads right into that. It asks, I've heard you say that a person's ability to visualize images well will directly affect their ability to activate their own body's chakras. Why would this be true?
Well, in most things, when you're talking about energy work, the better you can visualize, the better you can get your mind and body to work together to actually create sensations or this ability to tune into what you're really trying to visualize. And so a lot of people who naturally can visualize or see pictures in their head very easily, they have a tendency to be able to activate their own body's chakras pretty easily. People that can visualize will have to be on the sensitive side, so they're actually able to tune into things a little bit easier and better. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about is how different we do our chakra or vortex training, comparatively speaking, to other methods, and certainly you went through those methods that teach it in a metaphysical way. And we even wrote an article in the Chakra blog here about the fact that collars are used in chakra, and you talked about when they actually were brought in and started to be used in a chakra way, and how that can really throw off everybody's ability on doing this type of stuff. But you don't really realize that until you really break down what chakras or vortexes are all about and study them in a scientific way, rather than just hear them in a metaphysical way. A lot of times that really isn't going to teach you what you really need to learn, does it?
You know, it doesn't at all, because even in the first question, they ask how a person can activate. Whenever I worked with a chakra teacher or practitioner, I wasn't really participating in activating them. We use crystal bowls or gem or crystal therapy, and I was just in a very relaxed state. It kind of just, they would say, happened on its own. I was not an active participant in the visualization of them being activated or anything to do other than just hanging out there. And it was supposed to happen all on its own, just with the crystal bowls or the crystal and gem therapy. And
what were they saying was going to really happen to you, and these would activate on their own?
Well, with crystals, like if you put an amethyst or moldavite, there's certain types of gems that would enhance your inner journeys, your cosmic consciousness, and develop your intuition and psychic abilities. It would, activate the chakra in the penile pituitary area, depending on the chakra system that you were working with a particular person. That's what they say what was going to happen. Now, whether it was going to happen during the time that they were performing the chakra therapy, or you were following their instructions, it didn't necessarily have to happen then. It could happen days later, or it could happen during the year There was no timeline on that. It was just supposed to open it up.
Yeah, eventually it was supposed to open up, and what you'd feel is like spinning sensations and stuff, and that was supposed to mean that you had reached a certain level and everything. But even when you would, let's say, got to that point where you could feel spinning take place, there was no practical application that they would take you through or say, okay, now that you've activated your chakras, now this is what you can do with it. And a lot of times, without that kind of information, what good does it do to activate a chakra?
Well, that's the whole point of it. I never participated in the visualization of it spinning in any program that I used with this, and I've used many in groups and individual private training. I never felt the spinning of a chakra. You could just feel, they would say, well, do you feel an emotional release? Do you feel at peace or in balance? Basically what they wanted you to feel. They didn't tell you to tune in to a current at all. Even though you knew it was a chakra, a spinning wheel, you were never taught to visualize the circuitry of it, nor tune in to that sensation of that particular flow of the circuit. And I've been through a lot of chakra systems, and I've never heard that. Now, there are practitioners that ask you to do physical things, like a hula hoop or a twist or a pelvic thrust for the chakral or sacral areas of those vortexes, but they never worked with anything really spinning. It was always the method that was supposed to open them up, but the sensation was always a clearing, a release of blockage, and that was it.
And a lot of people who say that what you're explaining there about this euphoric feeling that may happen to you or some of these other type of sensations, that they actually represent what is called a Kundalini experience, and it's supposed to lead to some kind of enlightenment or this ability to perceive more than you normally would. And the trouble with a lot of the type of training that you get that way is it isn't very specific, and it does tend to be on the metaphysical side where that you're searching for different things but not necessarily being able to find them, and there really is no step-by-step way that is going to take you to activating your chakras per se. And I was able to get to that point where I actually did get to the spinning part and saw how a chakra or vortex actually worked inside your body. It really does spin and take place like that. But with the method I was going through, it really didn't explain what you could do with this. Once you get them activated, what's the significance of it? And that was the problem that I had in the method I was in at the time. But at the same time, I knew there was something here to it. It was just understanding what that was and how could you use this in a practical application way. Once I got them activated, I actually did try to start going down that path myself, since I found no other method out there really explained this phenomena of these things spinning around in you, let alone that you could take a chakra or a vortex outside your body and literally learn to spin it. And these are things that I wanted to actually learn, and so that's why I started actually studying the science behind how this stuff worked, and realized that the people who are doing the things that they're telling them to do in a lot of the chakra systems out there that are supposedly teaching chakras are really putting the emphasis in the wrong areas and in the wrong way. A lot of times what they're doing is creating this heat up in your head area that your head is already really hot, and so it usually just leads to anything from headaches and chronic headaches sometimes to all sorts of other types of pain or body pains around the body, just because you're pushing or overloading certain areas of your nerve fiber system. And we now know that it really is your electrical system that is being engaged whenever you're dealing with chakras or vortexes.
You know, Sifu Jones, that exactly leads into the question about Kundalini. What's the difference between going through the Kundalini experience and that of activating a chakra? Is it the same thing? And you pointed out it is one and the same. And when I went through Kundalini yoga, they basically said, well, you're going to go up through each chakra, and each chakra is going to turn, but it's going to be a single line of energy located at the base of the spine. Sometimes it's referred to as serpent power, and it depends on the tradition. If it's an Eastern tradition, it's a goddess type of metaphysical reference they'll use, and they want you to activate each chakra with this thick line of energy going up, and then go right up into the head. And boy, you want to talk about heating up the head. That's what did it for me, and I actually didn't do that anymore.
Well, and a lot of people do get that, because a lot of times chakra training are put on the spinal cord and up and down what is called the microcosmic orbit, and there are different power points along the spinal cord that you tap into or try to activate, and usually all it does is really heat up the area and cause problems if your area or your nerve fibers aren't built up well enough, or you haven't taken enough time to do this process. A lot of times you just are overloading your own system, and it results in kind of bad side effects, or where you're going to feel bad in particular ways.
Well, I absolutely understand vortexes in a different way, especially going through the school and now training students at the 4th year level. Vortexes have taken on a whole new meaning. So chakras and vortexes are synonymous, but the location is different, and the activation is different, and the actual physical response in my body is completely different.
Well, that's true, because, like I said, that most people will teach chakra training using your spinal cord, and you now know through the school that the 7 vortexes or chakras that you're going to learn to activate and use in a practical application, if you go through our school, are located in totally different areas. We know that they're located in, there's one in each leg and one in each arm, and there's one in that around that chi point area, and then there's 2 that are in your brain. And a lot of times people will activate maybe their chi point one or their brain ones, and by activating particular ones without affecting or activating the other ones can cause all sorts of problems to people. And most of the time, when it comes to our school, we don't really teach it until our students are at the instructor level. We don't go over chakra or vortex training. And this really is because to activate a chakra or vortex in the way that you can or should, you need form with your energy, or this ability to form your chi energy into a particular form you can use to work with that vortex that you're going to activate. And of course, in our school, we also use these training devices. We use a yin chi stick that helps us put out circles in better ways, and that helps you create this better form that you can. Certainly a lot better form than you would naturally be able to do. And these are devices that help you get to a higher level in a much faster way. It's what we choose to use, and we go through the specific different exercises that we go over with the instructor, showing them exactly how they're going to use this chi stick to get it to activate their own body's vortexes. And we do it in this easy, step-by-step manner, but it does take a number of months, and we take the whole 4th year to teach students how to properly activate each of the 7 vortexes that they have. And of course, we teach the ones in the brain last, because you really want control over all your other vortexes before you start even working up in your head at all. And it really is a case that students that go through the school don't get into the head area at all until they are at the instructor level, and that's by design, so that this is the safest way to interact with your body, so that you don't have things go wrong, or you don't hurt your own body just because you're trying to do energy work. And a lot of times you can really hurt your body doing things in an improper way, or things that they shouldn't be done in the way that maybe it's described in a book or taught in a class. A lot of people use hard breaths and hard sounds to also engage their chakras or their vortexes, and they think that they're going to activate things like that in that type of a way. And really, there's so many much better ways to learn about chakras and vortexes and how you can actually activate them in the body and to use them in a practical application way. Like, we show that you can use it in a variety of ways to do extreme abilities once you get this ability to create these vortexes or chakras in your body as well as those around you, and to be able to do or activate one right in the air around you, or we always call it the time-space fabric, because this is really what it turns out to be. And as you learn to engage in this particular way, you really create something that you can physically feel and over time actually physically see.
Well, this is our last question, which ties in to what we've been talking about. I went through a number of energy systems that taught you how to activate inner chakras. But after seeing how your school is teaching this, why is your method so different?
Well, one of the biggest reasons it's so different is because it really works. We're actually activating chakras that you can physically feel, and then you can use in this practical type of way where you're actually engaging and you can physically feel the spinning sensation. And when we first start utilizing it, we teach a instructor how to use it to like manipulate an object, move something around them with the vortex that they're able to create. And that way you can actually see that there is a significance or a power to this ability to utilize a vortex. And again, if you're not building up enough biophotons or you're putting up enough of these chi, and that's what we have found through science, that chi energy are the same as bioenergy or broken down into biophotons. And these biophotons are some really interesting subatomic type particles that you can do all sorts of crazy things with, from anything to cooling it down to pausing it in space to making it into a particular type of form. And this is what we teach students that get into our school. We teach in the first 3 years how they're going to create this moving chi first, and then turn that moving chi over to form chi. And then as they get to form chi and be able to use it in a formy way that they can physically feel, then as instructors, we'll take them through vortex or chakra training, and this really ups the ante to what they've even learned in form training. But even our form training is much stronger than most of the other energy systems out there. And when you get into the vortex training, it really ups the ante even more. And it's one of the reasons why we really don't do it until a student is at the instructor level. We don't really teach it because, for the most part, if you don't have enough biophotons being projected from your body, you're not going to be able to create a form, and you're not going to be able to create one of these vortexes, because you actually need this form coming out of you in order to be able to create any type of chakra or vortex that you can physically feel. And then literally later feel. And that's really the coolest thing about this. And a lot of times when I read about a person's method that they're trying to teach in chakras and stuff, it's usually down the traditional route. And you can tell that they're not able to do something like they're saying that they're doing there, because it doesn't work that way. Now that we have studied the science of how your body works, and scientifically how subatomic particles work or these biophotons work, we know that the typical ways that are being taught how to do chakra training are flawed. They're not the right way to train your body. And if you want to really learn how to do this the right way, you need to come through a school like we teach.
What's interesting, Sifu Jones, I'd like to share this because it leads right into understanding the difference a little bit more between the liquid form and then vortex type of chi, is our students vary all over the world, and this particular student is very familiar with energy work and does it for a living and is an international healer. But they were getting these heated strikes, or their body was heating up constantly. And when they came into the school, even during year one, that moving a straw was fine. That was nice, liquid, cool chi energy to move a straw. But when they got into learning about circles, even in year one, if they tried to do any type of a spin to that, because they didn't have form chi at that point yet, it actually made them nauseous, which is why you want to have form. And the student learns that quite a bit through year 2 and year 3. Even to get to the vortex level, they handle that kind of centrifugal force.
And that's why we teach temperature control in that first year like we do, where we show people they can raise or lower the inner temperature of the body. As you get into learning a lot of this stuff where you're actually moving around a lot of energy, it's very quickly you can change the inside temperature of your body and get it to fluctuate 25 to 50 degrees at a shot. And that's why if you don't practice temperature control, you can run yourself into real problems, because a lot of times the heat will rise right up to your heads, and the problem turns out that you start getting these chronic headaches from simply doing energy work. And if you practice temperature control, you learn to lower the temperature of your inside so that you're making it a lot lower than the 98.6 that the doctors say that is a normal rate. Well, for energy workers, if they're going to keep at that high of a temperature range, it isn't long at all before they're pushing way too much heat through their body, and it can actually cause problems. And so we actually show a student how to lower that inside temperature, and they do it. And it takes about a full month before they can do it in a realistic way where they can do it on demand. You ask them to lower your temperature, and we use laser temperature guns that show exactly whether you can do it or not. So it shows you feedback whether you're learning the concept or not. And those people that have trouble with it, they just talk to one of our instructors, and we take them right through that situation where the process is this way, and we guide them right through that so that they can actually see it on a temperature laser gun, that they can lower their own temperature. And of course you can raise it or lower it, either one, but since we're working with a lot of energy and we're showing students how to build it up in their body, we need it to be more on the cooler side, because energy tends to be on the hot destructive side if you just allow it to come out in just any type of way and you're not putting your mind on it. Simply because we can put our mind on this in the right way, we can change the way this energy moves around in our body, and that's certainly what we will teach people in a school. And when you can learn temperature control or use this concept where you can raise or lower your own temperature, then you can build up so much more energy than you normally would without overloading. And this is what leads to extreme abilities or things that people would think that were impossible, but you can show them it's not impossible simply because you learned it in the right way. And that's why they should check out a school like ours. And we're going to continue to answer questions that come in, and people who want to write us and ask us an energy question, they can just do it right through our school or use the links that will take us to where they can use our contact, and we will answer those questions for them.
Well, thank you, Sifu Jones, very much.
All right. Have a good one.